Hello everyone. It's me, back with another video. But today I wanted to make a different video. Today I want to talk about a different topic, a more realistic topic. Today I wanted to talk about the feeling of not being able to recognize yourself anymore. So if you like the video, I'll ask that you watch it. I'm thankful to anyone who watches this video. Now, to begin, my nickname is Don. My actual name is Darion Mitchell. I'm a 19-year-old boy who lives in the heart of Memphis. Or technically I live on the edge of Memphis now, but that's besides the point. And I've been on quite the journey, to say the least. I've been on a lot of ups. I've been on even more downs. And all in all, it's been an interesting time, if I had to give it a name. But throughout all that time, I've come to realize something, and I've come to realize it very often. It's that sometimes I am no longer able to recognize who I am. Now, what does being able to recognize who you are even means? You are you, aren't you? But sometimes I feel like I'm not. And sometimes I feel like a lot of us don't feel like we are who we are. Oftentimes I feel like I do a lot of things that are outside of my character. And sometimes that can be a good thing, but very often it isn't. Very often it feels like a bad thing, and often it is a bad thing. And to be completely honest, that scares me. That deeply scares me inside. Not being able to tell who I am, to know who I am, to be able to look inside myself and say, yes, you are who you say you are. It's a terrifying feeling for me, especially me in particular, because I have surrounded myself in this idea of being a very genuine person, being very upfront with who I am, and being upfront about the things that I think in my head, because I find it it's kind of like I want to be that type of person, because I see very little of that type of person. And I believe that every person in this world deserves to know a person who's completely genuine and who's completely honest, at least to some degree, right? And so I've kind of set myself up in this stigmata that that's the person that I want to be. And I'm not straying from that path. I still want to be that person, but oftentimes I find myself slipping hard and slipping fast. I feel myself running in circles, missing the whole point of why I set out on this journey to begin with. Oftentimes I lay down when I'm about to fall asleep, and I just think. It doesn't really have to be anything in particular, but often I find myself replaying the past in my mind, the past me that started this entire journey to begin with, the me who set his foot down and decided that this is the person that we were going to be, that was the person that he wanted to be, those were his goals that he wanted to achieve. And I sit down and I wonder, is that even me? It's that person who sat down that day and decided that they were going to be this amazing, genuine, kind-hearted person for anyone that came in their lives, whether they were good people or bad people subjectively. Is that person even me? Because oftentimes I feel myself in a state where it feels like I'm almost lying to myself about who I actually am. Sometimes I feel like I'm not that person anymore. I've strayed at some point in my life and I'm no longer that person, and that's such an awful feeling for me to feel, because then I start to relapse and I start to panic and I start to question myself on what am I doing? Where am I going? Why am I leading the way that I'm leading right now? Is this something I'm supposed to be doing? Is this what I'm supposed to be doing? I can't find a sign. I can't find anything solid to anchor myself on. And so I start to depart. I start to pull away. I start to snatch away. Because what if I'm giving people something that isn't even me to begin with? What if what I'm giving to someone is something that the me who set those goals also long ago would never approve of? And I think about that very often. I think about that scarily often, in fact. And it causes me to feel detached from people. And it becomes, as I grew older, it became harder and harder for me to find a line between who I am and who I once was. And it's generally due to the way that my brain has been developing. And to tell you the complete truth, I sitting here in this chair in the dark with this single flashlight on, I couldn't tell you who I really am. I couldn't. As cliche or maybe as cringy as it might sound, I couldn't tell a single person who I actually am. I couldn't even tell myself who I actually am. At most, all I can do is fabricate a story in my mind and tell myself that this is who you are, while never being 100% certain about if that's actually me. And often I feel like that's how life has been going for me recently. And so I've been pulling away from a lot of things, and to be completely honest, I'm tired. I'm tired because I know that my actions hurt people. I know that what I'm doing hurts people. And to take it a step further, I know what I'm doing is hurting me. I may not show it on the outside. Sometimes I don't even show it on the inside, but I know that some cornerstone of me is hurt by the fact that I can't identify who I am anymore. And to anyone who's struggling with that, not being able to identify yourself, from one person who can't identify themselves to another, just stop. Stop. Take a deep breath. Step back. Let it go. If people deem you a monster for going back on your word, then let it be. Because if you know that you aren't who you are, if you have that feeling in you that you aren't the person that you believe you are, then it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter about their reaction, the way they react to you. It doesn't matter. Because at the end of the day, you're living with yourself, and you're going to be the only person living with yourself for the rest of your life. They may be a part of it, but they aren't you. They're never going to be you. They can't be in your shoes. Your problems are your own problems. And you're the only person who can deal with them. And if you have to take a step back and detach from people in order to achieve that, sometimes that's just what you gotta do. Because at the end of the day, it's better to step away than to give something that was never you to begin with. I just kind of wanted to get on here and talk about that. I've been feeling that recently, that I haven't been able to recognize myself. And if you can't recognize yourself either, then I guess we're both in the same boat together, huh? Well, I'm done. If you watched any bit of the video, I thank you a lot. Not only for watching the video, but for also hearing me. And I hope you have an amazing day. Peace.